Because I have respect for Bob, I'm not going to do what I was going to do to start this segment, which was to take my shoe off and drop it. You know, the other shoe dropping, but Bob doesn't need to deal with the foot odor, and neither do you. But the shoe is dropped. Jesus Montero has been sent down. It's the first of what we speculate might be more than one move. Certainly they're going to announce they're going to bring someone up. We expect it to be Jesus Sucre, but it hasn't happened yet. But there's another move or two that could happen. But I thought here we'd just kind of focus on what this means for Jesus Montero and where they go from here. You get the sense in listening to it that okay, I don't know if experiment's the right word, but Montero at catcher is probably over and done with at this point. There's talk then about Montero at first base, and I want you to relate a little anecdote you have that might slow people down on that a little bit.
Well, and that was something we had heard about before, and it becomes an obvious conclusion for a guy behind the plate. Right? Every catcher that, for whatever reason, is not going to catch, injuries, whatever, first base becomes the option. And there happened to be a day out at Safeco Field where the manager comes out into the dugout.
This was last year, correct?
Yeah. And he's facing the field, so he's in the dugout, first base side, looking right at first base during batting practice, and all of us reporters are gathered around him asking questions, and I happen to be sort of on the side of him to where he was right here, and I could see first base, and there was Montero at first base.
Playing some grounders, doing that?
Yeah. You know, you got infielders throwing him the ball during batting practice, and 2 balls in a row, they bounced up there, which are routine plays for most first basemen. They swipe it,
right?
Yeah, and he looked up. On the first one, Eric Wedge did. He was talking, he's listening to questions, and he looks up, and the very first one, you see Montero go, "Olé!" Ball goes right by him. He tries to do the sweep, right by him, didn't even make contact with it, and he kind of looked at it, he kind of shakes his head, and he continues with the question, and then the next question was about Montero playing first base and the experiment, what's going on out there. And as he's listening to the question, he's looking down, and as he looks up, Montero does it again. Bounced ball right in front of him, and he tries to swipe at it and doesn't even make contact with it. And at that point, Eric Wedge, he just kind of gets a half a grin and just goes, "We'll have to see what goes on." It was perfect timing. It was with a question about him playing first base, and that's the only time I've ever seen him there. And I can tell you firsthand, it looked as unnatural as he looks like a Hall of Fame catcher compared to the way he looks standing at first base.
That is just terrible, terrible news, because if there's one thing he is not, is a Hall of Fame catcher. So you get back to then what Montero's got to become then to make it with the Mariners is Edgar Martinez to a degree. Not the best DH to ever play the game, though no one would mind that. But certainly a guy whose bat is so good and so consistent with a 300 average, with power, that you're happy to have him in the lineup every day, that you don't think twice about having him in the lineup against righties and lefties. And as a hitter, he has regressed dramatically this year. So, I kind of make the point that I think the rest of this year is going to be about fixing his confidence. I don't know how much he's going to even play the field. Maybe they will have him play first a little bit so he can do something as a background. But if Montero doesn't, at this point, I think you expected, after he came in last year, in his second year, and here we're about 6-7 weeks into it, you would have expected this guy to be a middle of the lineup bat for you. Right. And he showed some signs of that last year with 260 average, 15 or so home runs, and you've seen a complete regression, just not, you noticed it at the start of the year. Not being disciplined, taking bad pitches. His power is gone. He's not even getting extra base hits anymore. I honestly don't know if we'll see Montero on the Major League roster again this year, and that's real bad news, because this was a guy the Mariners have invested a lot in terms of trading Pineda. I know what he hasn't done for the Yankees, but this was a guy who was expected to be a linchpin moving forward, who doesn't look like one at all right now.
Well, if he does come back up, hopefully he comes back up minus the gloves, first base and catcher. There's no use for him.
Swing the bat, Jesus. Swing the bat.